You know, we talk to AI all the time now, but have you ever stopped to wonder what's actually going on inside that digital brain? How does a machine take a bunch of letters you type and pull actual meaning out of it? Well, today, we're going to peek under the hood. We're going to explore the AI's hidden dictionary, all thanks to a fascinating new research paper.
So here's the billion-dollar question, right? When you chat with an AI, does it genuinely get you? Or is it all just a super sophisticated magic trick like a really clever parrot? This is something researchers have been debating for years, and a new study might have just given us one of the biggest clues yet.
To even begin to answer that, we've got to look at how an AI stores the meaning of a word in the first place. You can think of it like an inner dictionary, a massive library in its mind. But what does the entry for a word like cat, or say a more abstract idea like justice, actually look like to a machine?
Now, the fancy technical term for this dictionary entry is a static embedding. It's basically a unique mathematical address for every single word the AI knows. Just like in a real dictionary, this is the word's core identity, its starting point, before it ever gets used in a sentence. And how that entry is built? Well, that's at the very heart of a huge scientific debate.
And this is where the debate really heats up. Because there are two completely different schools of thought on how an AI actually finds meaning. Is its dictionary full of rich definitions from the get-go, or is it basically just a bunch of blank pages until the AI starts reading?
So, on one hand, you have theory A, which we can call the empty slate. This idea says a word's starting point, that embedding, is just a meaningless placeholder. All the meaning, 100% of it, gets created in the moment purely from the words around it in a sentence. But then you've got theory B, the built-in dictionary, which argues the complete opposite. It says, no, each word's entry is already packed with rich, pre-stored information about what it means. So, which one is it?
To figure this out, some researchers designed a just brilliantly simple experiment. They decided, you know what? Let's just crack open the AI's dictionary, sort all the words, and see what happens.
And here's the game plan. First, they yanked out the entire dictionary, all 50,000 plus static embeddings, from an AI model called RoBERTa. Then, they told a computer, hey, sort all of these words into 200 groups based only on their hidden mathematical similarities. The key here is they didn't tell it how to sort them. And then, for the last step, they just popped the hood and looked inside those 200 groups to see if the computer's sorting made any kind of human sense at all.
And this is where it gets really, really cool. Think about it. If theory A, the empty slate, was right, those 200 clusters should have been complete nonsense, a random jumble of words. But what they found was not even close.
I mean, look at this. It's incredible. The patterns were crystal clear. The AI, all by itself, grouped words together by meaning. Cluster 99, it's a zoo. It's full of animals. Cluster 72 is basically a closet. It's all clothing terms. And what's wild is that it even sorted words by feeling. Cluster 175 is like a box of compliments. Incredible, fantastic, amazing. While cluster 172 is, well, it's a list of insults. This is our first huge piece of evidence that these words already had meaning baked right in.
Okay, but, just seeing patterns isn't quite enough in science, right? The researchers needed to prove, with cold, hard data, that these groupings weren't just some massive, weird coincidence. It was time to put the AI's dictionary through a proper stress test.
So, to do that, they borrowed some tools from human psychology. For example, they measured valence, which is basically just a scale of how pleasant or unpleasant a word feels. And they measured concreteness. Can you sense it? Is it a bicycle you can touch and see, or an abstract idea like justice? The goal was to see if the AI's clusters cared about these very human ways of thinking about words. So it all boils down to this one giant question. Are these groups that look meaningful just a fluke? Could they have appeared by random chance? Or was the AI truly sorting words based on a deep, fundamental understanding of their meaning?
And the answer is staring us right in the face on this chart. Let's just look at concreteness. Each one of those blue dots is one of the AI's word clusters. Now that yellow line, that's the line of random chance. That's what you'd expect if this was all just luck. So here's the deal. Any blue dot that dives way below that yellow line, that represents a cluster that is powerfully, non-randomly focused on that concept. It's the smoking gun.
So how many clusters showed this powerful, non-random pattern for concreteness? 60. A staggering 60 of them. That's almost a third of all the groups the AI made. This wasn't a fluke. It was solid proof of a deep, structural organization at work.
All right, so they've looked at the clusters with their own eyes, they've run the statistical tests, and all the evidence is on the table. It was finally time to settle the big debate. Does the AI have a built-in dictionary, or not.
And the winner by a landslide is Theory B, the built-in dictionary. The whole idea of an empty slate just completely falls apart in the face of this evidence. The study makes it incredibly clear that these AI models absolutely rely on a rich, pre-existing dictionary where words are already loaded up with a ton of meaning.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The researchers themselves summed it up perfectly right here, saying LLMs do still require a lexical store of semantic information as part of their procedure for understanding text. It's not magic, it's a foundation, a dictionary.
So what's the big takeaway here? Why should you care about any of this? Well, for one, it tells us that AI understanding isn't some complete unknowable black box. It's actually built on something we can understand, a stable, organized, dictionary-like foundation. It basically shuts down that radical idea that meaning is just made up on the fly every single time. And honestly, it gives us a really fundamental insight into how these incredibly powerful tools we're all using actually think. And that leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending thought to chew on. We now know an AI builds its own dictionary from all the human text it reads. But what happens down the road if its definitions for big concepts, words like truth, fairness, or even art, start to drift away and no longer match our own? What does that world look like? Something to think about.